welcome to the Shaman Stream. I'm Dorothy, and thanks for joining us today. We're going to do a little talk today on astrology, and in the future, starting next week, I'll be here doing sessions for you. So, they wanted a conversation today. We want a conversation today about astrology and what astrology is, how we can use it, and many things like that. Now, talking to Zach behind the camera here. Oh, not Zach. He knows his sun sign, but he doesn't know anything else about astrology. Nothing. And he works in a store like this, so I'm going to give him an education today.
Nice.
How's that? Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, sounds good. All right, so we all know our sun signs, and that's cool. And we're all learning about our sun sign. So whatever your sun sign is, when you read a little bit about it, people can say, that's sort of me. Maybe it isn't. Some of it is. But we have lots of other things that give us personality traits. See, the astrology chart for a person is their soul's blueprint. It's their soul's, what they've come in to learn, what we've come in to understand. It's our life path. That's what we do with the astrology chart. And we can look at it and we can read it. And we cast a chart depending on what day, time, and place that you are born. And that makes it very, very specific to you. So anybody who's an Aquarius, you're not going to be the same as all the Aquarius in the world. You're going to be very different. Same thing with Leos. You guys, great big old personalities. Ta-da! Got one right over there. He's waving. You know, you're not all the same because we have many other qualities in our charts. And you can look at an astrology chart, which I didn't bring any today. Imagine that. But
We got one for the store.
we got one for the store. You guys can come and see it. Do you have a copy?
We got one on the
Only
thing.
if it's easy to
Yeah,
get.
it's on the.
But astrology charts are very intricate, and you never have to know what it is, because that will always be my job. But in astrology, we have all kinds of different characteristics. Again, that sun sign, which is what we know as our zodiac sign, that is what we're here to learn, to express. We're expressing our ego through that sun sign. We're not always good at it, so lots of times we can not feel very, we might not really connect with what our sun sign is. And this is for some people, not everybody. All right, and that's part of what astrology will do for the personality. Now, if I was to look at an astrology chart, I can tell a lot about a person, and everybody, if I'm reading the chart correctly, everybody, we live every piece of our astrology chart. So the moon represents our emotions. The moon will go through every single zodiac sign as well. You know, we have new moons and full moons every single month. And we have new moons. We are looking at starting and planting new seeds. We have one on our nation's birthday, by the way, which is a great opportunity for us to really connect and become more home-centered, more focused on what we need here and for our own selves and caring and nurturing. That's Cancer. So, and then we have full moons, and those are all about expressing our emotions really high, and a lot of energy is really built up. So during full moons, this is why we call people lunatics if they're a little crazy, or if we're acting crazy, we call it lunatics. Luna is the moon. And so that typically we have a heightened sense of energy and emotions during full moon times. The moon will go through every single zodiac sign every 2.5 days. So every 28 days, 29 days, we have the moon moving through every single zodiac sign. So that tells you when a person is born, no matter what their sun sign is, their moon is going to be somewhere very, very personal. So a person's going to express their ego and their essence of who they are and what they want to learn in the ego sense through their zodiac sign that we all know. That's that horoscope that we read in the newspaper. Really general. But then we get more specific and we find out what your emotional state is, how you want to be cared and nurtured, how you feel comforted when you're feeling emotional. This is what our moon sign does, and that goes through all 12 zodiac signs, and we all are a little bit different. And then you go ahead in the astrology chart and look at what's on the eastern horizon at the time a person is born. And what's on the horizon is that front door. That's the face that we're set into the world. It is how we express our ego, the sun, our emotions, the moon, and we express it through the rising sign or the ascendant in the chart. And we have to know what time you're born to to get that exact piece. But that is a very important piece. It is like your front door of your house or apartment. That's what people see first. Not until they open the door do they know what's behind the door, and they get to discover who you are in your ego essence and your emotions. That is part of just a smidgen of what astrology does for us. So, Z, how's that for a little bit of an explanation?
I was pretty thorough. No real questions.
Yeah.
So.
Does that make you think a little bit more about astrology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
explains a lot more than.
Explains a lot more. And there's other ways that we can use astrology too. So that's just a start. And we can go through each zodiac, each planet, and tell you what they mean. And you can take some lessons for that too, because I do teach astrology. And but Mercury is how we communicate, and how we communicate is a little bit different for everybody as well. And then you can take these charts, and then you can start interacting them with other people. So we compare them. It's called synastry. So we can compare one person's chart to another, or a situation to a person, and see how they will get along. You can see where there be issues and where there needs to be extra work, a few challenges, and then you can see where people will get along and things will go easily and smooth without any problems whatsoever. This is a piece of astrology called synastry astrology. And I do that a lot when it comes to couples. Couples like to know, how they get along and where problems may be. People who are interested in really staying together and really working on relationships and knowing that not anything's perfect. And then you can look at these relationships and see where there will be issues, and then they're able to focus on those things and work through them, because nothing's set in stone. Even though we have a lot of really nice stones here. Nothing's set in stone in astrology, because it is all presented to us as lessons that we need to learn. And if we're willing to learn, we can move through these things with some work in some cases. In other cases, all we have to do is have a moment of realization, and then we get to see, and we get to open up to all kinds of new avenues. So that's a type of astrology that we can do. So synastry between two people. I also do lots of, one thing that I love doing, it's a lot of fun too, I love the synastry, which is, again, between couples, because there's many, many ways to work that besides just the comparison between the two charts. We combine the two charts to make one. So in the saying, two become one, and then you can see how two people work as a couple together. And then you can see how the outside influences will move them along in their relationship too. So it's very complicated, but it's a lot of fun for me to do. So I love figuring out puzzles. So it is a blast. It's a blast to do. What's another thing? Another way to use astrology. I'm just going to tell you ways that we use astrology. I've been doing this for like 27 years, and yeah. Yes.
Does the way that things have changed a little bit in the sky change what the horoscope would have been?
What a great question.
Considering things are different now?
Yes, that is a great question. A lot of people ask that because there's a few different styles of astrology. And what I use, and a lot of people here in the United States use, is Western astrology. And that is set up, the 0 degrees of Aries, which is the first day of spring, is set up when the sun hits the equator at a certain time every year, and that's March 20th, approximately March 20th. That is the beginning of the zodiac, and we here in the Western world, we've set that as the 0 degrees of Aries, so the zodiac belt is locked in place. Mm-hmm. Now, when astrology started, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, we know at least 4, some hints of 5, they did use the constellations. Indian astrology, which is also known as Vedic astrology, they use the constellations. And since the precession of the planet and the way it tips a little bit as it's going through its 20,000-year cycle, we're off by about 23 degrees now from the constellations. So we do not match up with the constellations anymore. But all of these types of modalities of astrology, they all work because it's your perspective and how you're coming through to it. Because astrology is not destiny, but it tells us what the soul comes in and it wants to learn. So, and we all have a focus on a few different zodiac signs because of where our planets are. But we still all have in our astrology wheel, that 360-degree wheel, we still have every quality of all 12 zodiac signs. It's just some of them are more pronounced than others.
And what about the 13th sign?
That 13th sign is not in our, it's not in our path, our elliptic.
Okay.
I can't pronounce it, it's Orpheus
Yes,
something.
Orpheus.
Yeah, it is between Sagittarius and Capricorn, and there's this small little piece of it is in that belt.
It's like a 10-day thing.
Right, it's just really small, and many people have.
% change.
Yeah, and there's no, I haven't really dug into the ancient history of this, but in ancient times, in the matriarchal systems, before Christ, it was very feminine, and we didn't have the calendars we know. That's a Christian thing, the Gregorian calendar.
Yep.
It's Greek, not Christian, it's Greek, and we had 13 months in a year, and that would have been very appropriate,
Right.
but it isn't,
Okay.
and so there we go, modern stuff. But those are great questions, because a lot of people feel that, astrology isn't valid because we're not following the constellations. And we are. We're valid. We're all valid. Anything, I don't know. It's all about, it's faith too, and, reading what you see. All right, what else do I want to talk about? Children's astrology. I love that, because you have the same chart when you were born as you do when you're 90. The chart's the same. Things progress, and we can go through different techniques to see what the soul is waiting for, what the soul is available and ready for. But doing a chart for a parent of a newborn or somebody who's just young, you can, and it's you look at it not in a different way, but in a very innocent way. How does this child see its mother? How does it see its father? What does it need to be cared and nurtured for? Because what we had as infants, we still have as adults, but after about 6 or 7 years, we kind of get really socialized and really humanized, and that innocence goes away in a lot of cases. And so, having a child's forecast, so a parent can see right off where a child might need extra help with learning, or they maybe have aptitudes for music or different things like that. Love the astrology for children's charts. It's very nice. It's exceptional. So much fun. Let's see, what else? I did this show, a TV show with Dr. Kevin, and it will air the week of the 4th. Happy birthday, Kevin. My dad's birthday is the 3rd. I want to say happy birthday to my dad. And you can do charts for, like, the United States. There's a chart that most people have agreed upon for the United States. Just looking at history, it's called the Sibley chart. And, you can look at that, too, and say, what's this nation about? And we have the new moon on this year's 4th of July, on the nation's birthday. So that gives us an opportunity to really break new ground this year. And we're having a lot of other things that are a little bit tough in the sky right now, because it's only a few days before the 4th. So there's a number of things that are a little bit stressful and tight right now in the solar system around us at this moment in time. Mars and Uranus are really pushing us to our limits.
We can see Mars pretty good right now.
Yeah, because it just yesterday.
Brightly red.
Yeah, right. And when we see the planets out there and they're really bright, that's when they're closest to us. And when they're closest to us, they have this illusion of retrograde. The ancients saw it going through the southern sky at night, and every night they'd look at it and they'd see that planet would move a little further back, a little further back, a little further back. And that's why Mercury was the one who did it. They saw that more than anything, because that does it more often. Some people here, Mercury's retrograde, so they blame everything on it, which is kind of silly, but they do. I still slips out of my mouth once in a while, and I know it's not real. Set my books down. But anyways, Mars, let's get back to Mars, which is today. It has been retrograde for 73 days, and it went direct today, but it's still not moving, because it's like when you back your car up.
Yeah.
You gotta make a complete stop before you're gonna put it in drive, or you're really gonna mess the tranny up, right? So it's sitting still for until July 11th, and then it starts to move forward. Mars in Scorpio brings up so much deep stuff that we're all looking at things we haven't looked at in a long time. We're feeling stressed and feeling uncomfortable, and it's making a really hard aspect to Uranus and Aries, and Uranus and Aries right now is that revolutionary energy. It's about freedom, breaking free, breaking the rules. It's that Aquarian energy. It's like, let me break all the rules. And we're seeing this across the board in a lot of different ways in a lot of different places. So it's not necessarily antisocial, but it's not happy with status quo.
Yeah.
You know. And that is an example of what we use for astrology for forecasting. Just giving you the energy of kind of what's happening right now. There's a lot of stuff. That's just a brief description. So much going on. I have on my website, nhastrologer.com, and on my YouTube channel, Dorothy Morgan Astrologer, I put out videos about once a week pretty much, giving you the energy of what's going on astrologically. So you guys make sure you go check those things out. I'm sure my link will be in here somewhere. So
Yeah.
go check those things out and just get, take it, with a grain of salt, but also realize that if we're saying that things are kind of tense and stressful right now, which they are, then if you're feeling a bit antsy yourself, just back off no matter what. Don't be confrontational. Just realize that, yeah, all right, I gotta let things go for now. I'm just gonna leave it alone, just breathe through it. So let's give ourselves some time to really move out of this stressful energy that we've been in at this point. The Republican and Democratic conventions are also running during some incredible times. We talked about that on Kevin's live show, on Kevin's show, Kevin and Angie's show, and that will be up. I'm sure they'll put up a post about that too. So you can go check that out. I don't want to get into it again, but it's really some good information on how it looks like for the Republicans and the Democrats at their convention. I'm not making any predictions, because it's just impossible to predict that, man.
I hope the Republicans.
It's impossible to predict.
Oh.
We're seeing, honestly, we're seeing democracy in action. We have to see that, I mean, whether we like whoever, it doesn't matter. This is our democracy, and this is, if it doesn't work, then we really have lost our country. So we do need things to go forward. All right, what's one more way that we use astrology? Another way that we do it, like I have a session with somebody tomorrow that is doing some business planning for his company. He wants to pick certain dates to help to use the best energy he can for the best success. So we look at either his chart. He is the owner of the company, so I will look at his chart. And depending on how intricate we want to get, we'll look at the business chart as well. Like this store has a business chart, for when we open the doors. And so we will look at that and just to see when is a really good opportunity to, start to sell that or whatever. Even when it comes to real estate, I do it for real estate too. I have a number of realtors, and I can tell them, compared to what's going on and their charts, when they're going to have those ups and downs in their business, because real estate does have its ups and downs. Depending on where you live too, of course, the winter months are kind of stinky, but you can still sell houses then if you have really good aspects. And so we can look at it for business as well. Let's one other way. And then the soul's journey. I mean, that one, I'm going to finish up with that, I think. The soul's journey, which is the progress chart. So we move the chart ahead, and we do all these different mathematical things to it. And it shows us what the person is ready for at this point in time. Because there's a lot of things in astrology that are really set time frames, where certain things happen to everybody at a certain age. How we respond to it, of course, is different. But when we look at the progress chart, it gives me an idea to see how much growth the soul is going for, because we're in this vehicle, this ego, this person, and so all of these things are happening to us, we think, and so the soul is learning and experiencing life through that. And so the progress chart gives me a really big look into where a person is going and what they're ready for in life, and it's really fascinating because the number one thing I hear from people once we're done our sessions, especially, is it's really good confirmation. I had a feeling something was happening. I wasn't quite sure what it was. Thanks for the confirmation and thanks for the clarity. So it really helps people to feel very clear about where they're moving ahead and the steps that they're taking. And it really helps people to trust their own intuition as well. because, you know, to get a complete stranger to tell them something that they know they're feeling gives them a lot of strength and power in their own self. And that really is, to me, one of the main purposes of astrology, and the way I use it and love to use it, is to give people back their power. They didn't give it to me or anything, but they don't feel it in themselves a lot. And so this really helps them to feel very strong and very powerful. And they're able to control their own life. And they can check in whenever they want. And some people check in once a month, some people check in once a year, or more or less, whatever you want. But just to stay on track with what's going on in their lives, and it really helps, gives them a little bit of equilibrium, kind of like bumpers when you bowling, you know, put those things in the gutter so you don't end up down there, kind of like that. But yeah, so that's a lot. I know I talked fast. How much time did we do?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. All right, guys. I think I'll leave you with that. And so come to the Shaman Stream. I will be here, I believe, next Wednesday, 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever day. It's the 6th. I'll be here in the middle of the day, 11 to 4. So come and see me if you have questions. And find me nhastrology.com and right here at Shaman Stream. Thank you very much, guys. Blessings. Namaste.